reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes, like that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives.
That's what kids do. Vice President J.D. Vance earlier today commenting again on a Politico story involving members of young Republicans' organizations and thousands of leaked messages where they're seen exchanging hate, racist, and homophobic texts. The vice president choosing there not to condemn the messages, instead dismissing it as, quote, what kids do, and that, quote, kids do stupid things, especially young boys. The organization in question is for Republicans between the ages of 18 and 40. Kids. Anyway, according to Politico, the Telegram group chats involve Republican operatives and, at least one case, an elected official. Inside those messages, one referred to black people as, quote, monkeys and, quote, watermelon people. One talked about sending political opponents to gas chambers. Another called rape, quote, epic. Prominent Republicans like Congresswoman Elise Stefanik were quick to condemn the messages. The young Republicans denounced the text as vile and inexcusable. Politico reports that at least one person lost their job, while another had a job offer rescinded. At least two of the people involved have apologized. My panel is back. The Arena text chain is also with us. Tolu, I want to sort of start with you on the big picture. You've spent a lot of time thinking and writing about how race and politics intersect here, and the coarsening of the discourse that is seen on display in these texts is really, well, how do you interpret the reality that these groups, these groups of people felt like this was an appropriate thing to do?
Well, it's shocking to see this in public. You have to imagine that this does happen from time to time in these private group chats. I don't want to say that this is representative of all young Republicans, not at all, but it is something that has become more common, and it's something that Donald Trump, if we have to mention the president here, the leader of the party, has made more common. He talks about very coarse language when he talks about his political opponents. He has opened the door to some of this kind of language, and we see the lack of condemnation from someone like J.D. Vance saying that these are just kids, they're just being edgy. And there is a difference between when someone says something that's offensive, that's from a different party. Those kinds of people, in the minds of Donald Trump and his allies, they get deported, or they get shunned, or they get told that they need to lose their jobs. You have to remember what happened after Charlie Kirk was murdered. There is an opportunity for leaders to condemn both sides. If someone on your side says something that's horrendous and offensive, you can condemn it while also condemning it happening on the other side. But there is a certain sense of hypocrisy that if something happens among my political allies, they're just kids and they need to be forgiven and given a lot of grace. If someone on the opposite side of the aisle says something that's offensive, they need to get the hammer put down on them.
So I want to play for you, Tolu, something else that J.D. Vance said here today. We'll watch it because I think it plays into the point Tolu was just making. Take a look.
We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat. And if I have to be the person who carries that message forward, I'm fine with it. And by the way, if they were left-wing kids telling stupid left-wing jokes, I would also not want their lives to be ruined because they're saying something stupid in a private group chat.
First of all, having a little bit of accountability, potentially losing a job or having a role where you're representing the public, losing that role, is not having your life ruined. It's having accountability for saying something when you're representing people. That's the same thing that people called for when people were, saying negative things about Charlie Kirk, who were representative of the public in their own private Facebook chats or Facebook messages. That was what Republicans were calling for back then. So it's called accountability. It's not called ruining people's lives. But it is important to note that some of these vile, racist, and homophobic languages that we see in these chats, they do cause harm for a lot of people. They do stem from a place, and for people who have power, who want to exert political power to espouse these views, that often filters into policy making. It's not just being edgy in a group chat, this is how people are seeing and dehumanizing people, and it does lead to policy differences that actually impact people's lives. So it's important to know that it's not just kids in a group chat being edgy. These are potential future leaders who have important roles in our
It could be the Attorney General nominee in Virginia, the Democrat Jay Jones, who's fantasized in text about his opponent, his political opponent, getting 2 bullets to the head, or his children dying in their mother's arms.
Sure.
I mean, these are random dorks in a young Republican club who don't have anything better to do. I condemn it. I can completely condemn it. But these are not the Attorney General of Virginia possibilities. I'm very familiar with that race.
Let us stipulate that the Attorney General, candidate in Virginia, should not have said that. Let's also stipulate.
He should not run. He should drop
Let's
out.
also stipulate these are not kids, 18 to 40 years old. And if you read through what they said, they knew they shouldn't be saying it. They say, we're going to get in a lot of trouble if this becomes public. To talk about being hypocritical, let's go beyond Charlie Kirk, where people lost their jobs for posts. The Trump administration wanted to cancel Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert for making jokes about Donald Trump, for being a comedian. These kids, you should sit down and read some of the quotes, putting people in gas chambers. I mean, it just goes on and on, driving them to suicide. The notion that they should be excused as kids is simply
They're not kids, and it
ludicrous.
deserves all the condemnation
Ludicrous.
we can muster for it. But I find it interesting that Democrats are aghast about this today when they won't run Jay Jones out of the Attorney General's race in Virginia.
So first of all, we shouldn't forget where they were doing these text messages. It was on Telegram. They looked at WhatsApp, they looked at Signal, and they said, no, we need to go to a place that's super private and a venue
for our
extremism.
audience, can you just underscore what Telegram is?
So
There's probably a lot of people watching.
Telegram is an app for super private, highly encrypted communication that terrorists have been known to use, that extremist actors have been known to use. They explicitly brought this chat to Telegram because they knew it was vile and worthy of condemnation. I love it how you and our friend Scott on the text are syncing up in your talking points, constantly moving this back to something else. Let's talk about Virginia. Let's talk about this.
Because Jay Jones potentially could lead a state. That is much more consequential than a bunch of dorks on Telegram.
First of all Republicans at this point are probably certifiable dorks. But the point here is that the Republican Party refuses to apologize for anything today. Anything.
The young Republicans did apologize, Congressman. They condemned it.
They did not apologize
the Young Republican organization condemned it.
They did
condemned it.
They did not. I'm talking about the Vice President of the United States, not the Young Republicans organization of anything. They shot rubber bullets at a religious leader, and they did not apologize in Oregon. Okay, this party at this point, irrespective of the level of extremism, will just march forward and hope that we forget. And this is yet another illustration of that.
Just to update one thing, I believe Elise Stefanik today sort of changed her tone and said that this was a hit piece by Politico. So she's now getting right with the White House. But just to underscore what the congressman said, that was J.D. Vance, the vice president, making light of this. It's not okay.
Brad, to the point in the comparison that you're making, I think it's important that we underscore that the conversation here is not about the appropriateness of the remarks that that person made. But it does seem to me, Jamie, that the more responsibility you carry, the bigger platform you have, the larger your megaphone, the more responsibility you do bear. But that does not free you from whatever consequences are appropriate from the place that you find yourself in your life.
I would also say this language goes to another level. This is not about some...
And murdering your opponent?
Excuse me. I'm talking about J.D. Vance, the Republicans, and what these people wrote. This is not about some war on woke. And just to go back to what you said about, President Trump opening Pandora's box, the language of President Trump, of what we heard from Vice President Vance today, it allows this to happen. It doesn't come in isolation.